بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. يروي الإمام البخاري في صحيحه عن حذيفة بن اليمان رضي الله عنه قال. The hadith tonight is collection Imam Bukhari is narrated to us by Hypocrisy. This is a new theme that I'm going to be starting over the next maybe 2 weeks or so. I'm going to talk about hypocrisy. I'm going to talk about nifaq. I'm going to talk about it from all the angles that I can possibly cover for it, because I think it's an important Islamic concept. It's very, I don't want to say it's unique to Islam, but it's very important within Islam. It's something that comes up quite a bit. If you go to the Quran, you find it in the Quran a lot. It's talked about like quite a bit. Honestly, when we cover nifaq, we should probably cover it from the Quran because it's talked about in more detail there and it's much more obvious. But it's in the Prophet, ﷺ's hadith as well, quite a bit. And it's important for us to understand what it means, what implications it has on the way we're supposed to live and how we see others as well, because that's kind of where the problem with nifaq, in my opinion, comes, is that we use it as a labeling system rather than as a self-regulation system, which is what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a concept that's there for self-regulation, not for criteria filling to label people. And I think hopefully throughout the number of hadith that I'll cover with you, that you'll find the Prophet ﷺ was very clear on that. And the hadith tonight is one of the famous hadith, because it's not really a hadith, it's more of a saying of a sahabi, but it's narrated in the collection of Bukhari, and many of the books of hadith end with it. Like many collections of hadith actually end with this one. It's the last one that they put, because nifaq is usually one of the last things any scholar of hadith will cover in his collection. And I'll narrate to you. It's very simple and it's very important. I think I've narrated here before, maybe not here, maybe in a different message, but I've narrated before. قال حذيفة إنما كان النفاق على عهد النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم فأما اليوم فإنما هو الكفر بعد الإيمان. So he says, رضي الله عنه, is that the concept of hypocrisy, as in people who were known to be hypocrites, was during the time and the life of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. As of today, meaning the Prophet ﷺ has passed away, it's kufr after being mu'min, meaning you're either someone who says La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, or you're someone who left it and is now a kafir. There's no way for us to label somebody as nifaq. This is what is being said by Hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is the person who aminu sirri Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam. He's the one who he was a secret keeper of the Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet ﷺ, not all secrets, but gave him a specific piece of information. Very, very delicate and very, very important. He told him the names of the munafiqeen that were in Medina. Now many of them were just kind of known by the merit of what they did, like Abdullah bin Ubay bin Salul. They did certain things that really left no way for you to actually point it out. And there was no reason to call them munafiq. They had already kind of established themselves as people who showed animosity to the Prophet ﷺ. And there are people like that here today. Like in the Muslim world, there are people who have shown Islam animosity. There's no reason for you to use the word. There's no use because it's obvious what they are. You don't have to use the word. Let's use the word. It's a problem. It's a problem when you use the word. When you actually call someone munafiq, it's a problem because you're claiming that you understand what exists on the inside. Because nifaq at the end, and as a definition, is when you do the different than what you believe. Right? That's what kind of hypocrisy is. When you love, you dislike Islam, or you have animosity towards it, and you actually go ahead and act like you do. And that's the sarih al-nifaq, as the scholars would call it. Amma nifaq al-amali, then there's practical nifaq. Is where you feel you love Islam on the inside, but you can't seem to get it together. You can't seem to follow certain rulings, and that's nifaq. I mean, there's difference for scholars between them. Either way, either types, you can't really label people with that. So he's saying that the Prophet ﷺ gave me the names, so I know who they are. I know who they are. Today you can't label people because the Prophet ﷺ is not alive to tell us fulan and fulan. We can't do it. So it's either a mu'min, we take it by face value. Either the person is Muslim in front of you, or they're not. It's whatever they do. Then what is the point of this whole concept then? What's the point of nifaq? It's self-regulatory. That's what it's there for. And so I'm wondering, what am I doing? I look at the hadith, I look at the Quran. Am I doing this? I am مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إله هؤلاء ولا إله هؤلاء إذا قاموا إلى الصلاة قاموا كسالى يراءون الناس ولا يذكرون الله إلا قليلا. You read these verses that describe the munafiqeen, and then you wonder, am I this? Am I doing this? Am I being seen as that in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And I fear for myself. And then I get up and I change. I don't look at fulan. Yep, check mark. Check. Oh, mashallah, you have them all. Yeah, you're 100%. No, that is extremely problematic and extremely sinful, and it's actually extremely arrogant as well. So you have to be very careful. The person who knows nifaq the most, Hypocrisy. The person who knew who the munafiqeen were, they would wait for him to see, was he going to go and pray janazah on this person or not? And based on that, they would either go to Sahaba or they wouldn't. Because he would know. And he was there like a safety valve. None of the munafiqeen would dare go and start trying to get themselves in a position of leadership. Because the moment they tried, Hypocrisy would just emerge from behind a wall and look at them, and they would sit down again because he knew and they knew. Like he knew that they knew, and they knew he knew. So they couldn't play around. They couldn't go and take leadership in the Khilafah at a time that was very critical. Because after the Prophet ﷺ died, you couldn't afford to have people in positions of leadership who weren't sincere, who weren't taught by the Prophet ﷺ appropriately. So someone's going to come and claim that, I spent more time with him than you know what he taught me. Well, Hypocrisy is there. He has the names. He has the list. If you're on the list, you don't dare. That's why Hypocrisy lived a long time. He died very late. He died way down the road. By the time he died, it didn't matter anymore. The munafiqeen had all died anyways. But he explains to us here something extremely important. That the concept of munafiq was at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Today, it's either mu'min or kafir, either kufr or iman. Either someone's a believer or a disbeliever. And they make that clear. We don't have the ability to say, well, there's something in the middle called nifaq, and we're going to start categorizing and labeling people and cataloging, and that's not appropriate. It's a self-regulatory concept that's very important, by the way, which is why I'm going to give 2 weeks of explaining it to you, because it's very important for us to use, but it's not, we're kind of misusing it sometimes. يروي الإمام البخاري في صحيحه عن حذيفة بن اليمان رضي الله عنه قال إنما كان النفاق على عهد النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم فأما اليوم فإنما هو الكفر بعد الإيمان صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خيرا. بارك الله فيكم. إن شاء الله see you next week.